Now, Bobby's just turning 17 this year, and he has lived a very long and healthy life. And as you can see by his pictures, he is not mistreated in any way, shape, or form. I looked on the zoo's website to see what they feed their bobcats. And it was just really gross because they actually feed them carcasses and dead animals and all kinds of gross stuff. And I thought, I don't think I'm into this. So I went to Oregon's website, and they had created a product called Supreme. I thought, well, there's my answer to everything. I'll just get this and we'll just feed him like a normal other baby and just open a can of food. Well, the Supreme is the grossest stuff in the whole world. I opened it and you could see actual hair and it stunk really bad. And I dumped it out in a bowl, and Bobby looked at it and he goes like this to cover it up and bury it. In other words, he doesn't like it. I decided this food is too expensive to let it go to waste. So that's where we started putting it in with hamburger. Well, I also found out that he needs calcium and he needs fish oil and he needs this and he needs that kind of vitamins. And the Supreme almost had all of its vitamins, but it didn't have them all. So I was dumping in little capsules of calcium and vitamins and mixing it in with the hamburger. He didn't like that either. David told me, oh, just let him go hungry for a few days. He's not going to starve to death, and then he'll be forced to eat it. 3 days later, he had the most pitiful look on his face, and I gave in. And I decided to come up with a different diet for him. I take chopped liver, raw hamburger, and then I open up inexpensive cans of cat food, and it has to be 3 kinds. He doesn't like all the same flavor. One is beef, turkey, and then chicken. And then we mix it all together and we divide it up into portions and freeze it in the freezer. Now the reason we divide it into small portions is because he also likes his food just a little bit frozen. Now how many wild bobcats do you know that have their food just a little bit frozen? None. But anyway, if it's aged in the refrigerator even 2 or 3 days, I don't want it. And he won't eat it, and you can't make him eat it. So what we've done is we portion it into smaller portions, and you'll see that. We freeze it, and then we thaw it out the night before, and then start feeding him from that. And it only lasts maybe 2 days at the most because, again, if it's over thawed, we won't eat it. Our family gets together to make his food. The first portion is chopping the liver. Now to chop the liver, this is just raw, yucky calf's liver. I have to chop it up in small bite-sized pieces because Bobby doesn't like anything that he has to actually work on chewing. The next step to making Bobby's food is opening up all the flavors of canned food. We have beef, turkey, and chicken, and this is the inspector. We call him Watson. He is the inspector of all the canned food, so he has to come along and do his part by tasting each one of the cans just to make sure that it's good enough to go into Bobby's food. The next step is we cut the hamburger, and this is a big 10-pound roll of hamburger. This is their job. They have to inspect the hamburger. They have to make sure that this is Bobcat edible. There's one for Bowie and one for Starbucks. Boys, is that good for Bobby? Okay, that's what they said. So now we go ahead and put one batch in the pot. And David loves this job. He breaks it up, because remember, this all has to get really mixed together. Otherwise, the Bobcat will cover it up. Now he's doing 6 cans. He broke the hamburger loaf into half. We usually do 2 cans of each flavor. So after he gets that mixed up, now comes the fun part. You add the chopped up liver. Oh, look at that. Oh, I feel like I need a frying pan to fry some of this up. Oh, yum, yum, yum.
Disgusting.
Oh, did you hear that? And look at the juices. Oh my gosh. This is so yummy. Here goes another can. Yum. Oh, look at that. Now this is the important part, another important part. We have to put it in the plastic bags, and these are freezer Ziploc bags. Now I told you we'd make them into small portions. So then we put them in a small portion, and that's all we can use is just this little bit. And that's about 2 to 3 days feeding, and that is it. Otherwise, he'll bury it. This is David's beer refrigerator and Bobby's food freezer. Now this is where we just stack it all up. He's got his own little shelves. Now this is a pretty big production in feeding Bobby. First, we have to start with the inspectors. Daily, they have to inspect Bobby's food before he gets it, just to make sure that it's still okay. David puts it in his bowl. You got to remember now, this is just out of the freezer and just barely thawed. So now Watson, he does his part by not eating all of his food. So Bobby gets a little treat there. And then, of course, we have the inspectors. They got to do the dishes too. So they're the dishwashers. Now Bobby's waiting for his food kind of patiently, but there's a routine that he goes through his food. He has to be greeted and petted, and he's looking at his food, but he likes his pet down, and you can hear him purr.
Come here.
That was a growl. And he loves mushrooms. Whoops, there he goes. He's got to take his mushroom in first. And the reason he's growling is he thinks David's going to take his mushroom away, but he's not going to. But he's very protective of his food. So now he's in his little den, and he'll come back out and gobble his food down in a minute. Now the chickens also participate. When we bring out the bowl, they have to come in, and they have to inspect any little bits and pieces. And all that really is dirt, but I guess there's some other bits and pieces in there. But they all have to come in and do their part with Bobby's bowl. Now here they all come. Whoops! And then the big dog has to come, and he has to really inspect, just in case there's a little nibble left. And finally, there's Bobby eating his food. He loves his food. I won't take your food away. He sounds so ferocious.